What is going on, everybody? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're doing a 49ers deep dive. Yeah, this team has gotten a lot of hype, and I know that a lot of it is based on Trey Lance's ability, but let's see if the hype is warranted. I really wanted to do this because we're getting too close to the season, and I gotta be churning these out. Because again, we're gonna be building mock drafts based off of my records predictions until we kind of get a much better feel for what it's like. It makes it fun and it makes it original because then you don't get that draft order anywhere else. Let's kick right into it. Starting off with the rookies. You started off obviously not having a first round pick. That went, if I'm not mistaken, to the Dolphins. And, I think that was a good move. You tried to take a shot on a quarterback. I wasn't a fan of Trey Lance. He was my QB5, if I'm not mistaken, maybe QB4 that year, but still a really talented dude. You wanted to spend some time developing him. You had a great mentor there. You still do in Jimmy G. So obviously Trey Lance is taking the reins. We're going to see how that goes. But that's a topic for another, for about 3 minutes from now. But still, starting off round 2, Drake Jackson. Thought that was an excellent pick. Obviously, I'm I guess I would say friends, but for the sake of this argument, we'll say friend with your scouting director. So obviously I was texting him during the whole draft. Drake Jackson, I was a huge fan of. I thought that he was an early second round pick. I used to be his biggest hater until people started putting him in the third, fourth, fifth round. I was like, come on, he's not that bad. Guy has a lot of talent. Ty Davis Price, I was not a fan of at all. I had him as a UDFA. Really good player, but again, I don't see that athletic upside. And I know this team is notorious for taking third round running backs. He's probably going to perform extremely well for you guys. So again, at worst, I know the grade is a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second. Danny Gray. So I go to SMU. When I first got my COVID shot, I was waiting outside because obviously you have to wait 15 minutes before you can go. I came in right before the football team. So Danny Gray was sitting right next to me, and the football coaches walked up and were teasing him because he couldn't put on weight. That's something that I know that nobody else knows. That's just facts in the community. Because obviously that's not stuff that you'd release to the press or anything like that. I think that his longevity is a big concern. But I said he's verbatim. He's a speedster who can separate, who can't catch. So just watch out for that. I'm really worried about his hands. I think that's something you can improve, and he's a really dynamic player. This is the offense for him to succeed in. So again, it's the best place for him to be. Spencer Burford's a solid offensive lineman, obviously UTSA. Samuel Womack, pretty sure he's actually been doing a really good job too. He lit it up. So yeah, he slipped through the cracks on me. I'm excited to see if he's able to continue that development. Nick Zakelj, or I don't even know how to fuck to say that name. Nick Zakelj. Didn't study him. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. Didn't think that he was worth a 6th round pick for sure. Kalia Davis, who's all right. I like Tariq Castro Fields a lot. Veteran presence who's actually going to be able to make an impact. And actually, so this is actually really funny. He's my number 5 quarterback is Brock Purdy in the draft. So yeah, the number 1 quarterback selected was not above Brock Purdy on my list. So just saying, I think you got a good one. And he's made some plays in the preseason. Brock Purdy's a beast, man. He doesn't have the best arm strength. He makes some crazy decisions, but honestly, he does some stuff that not many people can do. Big fan of that. Let's slide right into the roster here. And starting off with the quarterback situation, again, we use spottrack.com to get all the most accurate stuff. Of course, they don't lay out the positions in a normal way that we NFL digesters use it. But starting off with the quarterback, it's Trey Lance. Jimmy G is probably going to be shipped off. I mean, it's pretty much certain. It just depends on who wants to take the contract and for how much. So Jimmy G he's a lame duck. But you got Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Nate Sudfeld. I think that's a really good group. Again, Trey Lance has all the potential in the world. I just don't know if he's going to be able to reach that potential. He has a lot of issues with his accuracy. That was my biggest problem. You can't hit a target. Sometimes accuracy needs to be something that you work on a lot. And he's done a good job at doing that, but I've heard in practices he's been doing sub 50%. And at the end of the day, you need to be able to complete passes in the NFL. And I'm worried because he has all the talent in the world. I just don't know if he's ready to start this year. We'll see. We'll see, because this team has a lot of potential. Again, Brock Purdy, huge fan of him. We already talked about that. Running back, you got Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, the missile himself, JaMychal Hasty in here, as well as Trey Sermon. It's a good group of backs. Um, Again, I'm not a huge fan of the actual legit talent. Mitchell is probably the best talent that you have, in my opinion. But this offense just knows how to utilize guys to their best of their abilities. So I really don't care who the running backs are. Like, it's weird because I usually rip apart teams that don't have a elite running back core, the Patriots. So, you know, this one's a Shanahan thing. I'm gonna let Shanahan have his way with whatever running back he wants. Wide receivers, you got Deebo in that big contract. Obviously, he's your super weapon. He's your Swiss Army knife. Hopefully, he stays healthy because he is fun to watch. I was a big fan of him when he came out, so I'm excited to see him continue that. Brandon Ayuk, again, I was a big fan of him. I didn't know, like, I watched him and I wrote him down a long time ago when he was doing kick returns and didn't think he'd be a first rounder. I had like an early third on him because he's scheme specific, but this is the scheme that he was specific for. That's something that, like, again, I know not many people watch this, so I can just air out random thoughts. I know that my grading scale like doesn't exactly incorporate every single team's scheme specificity, where like I think run after the catch, speed, or things that the Niners are extremely keen on. So we're going to develop that for the show. We are. That's a big project. 32 different teams with then also breaking down the positions into different like subgroups and different weighting. It's weird. It's going to be a long process, but again, I take that in mind. I take that in mind when I do drafts. So like it's already in the back of my head. Danny Gray, another really good addition. Like you have Ray McCloud. I'm a huge fan of Ray. Big fan. Obviously, I'm a Steelers fan, so I got to watch him last year. Big fan of Ray McCloud. Even like Tay Martin's not bad either. I would say after that starts getting a little suspect. Juwan Jennings is actually pretty good though. He's not too shabby. Contract doesn't really speak for itself. He's a good player. But tight end, you got George Kittle. Then you actually have some really good backups here in the tight end room. So, that's a pretty deep tight end room. You have a nice wide receiver room on the top. I don't see an exact true boundary one like Deebo is, but I think he's wearing so many hats that he's not exactly going to be consistently a number one. It's hard to explain because it's not exactly what I mean. He's a true number one, but like I'm looking for somebody to be a threat on the perimeter the whole time. And Deebo's just too much of a Swiss Army knife. I guess that's where you could improve is maybe getting one more true one. Every team can, right? Like it's not just to you guys. Tackle wise, obviously you got Mike McGlinchey and then Trent Williams. I'm not going to even scroll down. Both of them are extremely solid players. I hope McGlinchey. I don't know if you guys give him his 5th-year extension. Based on this, I think you did. I'm not 100% sure again. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong there. But I hope he gets a contract extension. And I hope that he's willing to take a more team-friendly deal. Just because I don't think he's exactly worth top dollar. And I don't think you guys think that either. But you still have Spencer Burford here, Jalen Moore, Dane Brunskill. Dane Brunskill actually had a really good year the other year, if I'm not mistaken. These guys are really good tackles. Colton Niskovitz honestly isn't that bad. I know it says to practice squad, but he's not bad backup. Like this is a legit squad. The more I'm looking into this, because I was thinking like, oh, the Niners actually don't have that deep of a squad. When you read into it, it's a deep squad. Where the hell are the guards at? There we go. Aaron Banks. Okay, so this is where I have issues. I wasn't a fan of Aaron Banks. I had like a 5th round grade on him. You took him in the 2nd. I don't think he's been playing that well either. You guys again correct me if I'm wrong. Jason Poe, I don't think he's starting because he's undrafted, but Aaron Banks, I'm just not a big fan of. You lost Laken Tomlinson. Please tell me who's going to be your starting guard. I'm tripping up on this right now. But you got Donovan West here. I think he should honestly be a starting guard. Like I had a 3rd round or a 4th round grade on Donovan West. And again, honestly, the interior is scaring me. I hope to God you move some tackles in there. Jalen Moore I could see being moved to the inside. Dane Brunskill is still a little bit light, and he's a good player. I would use him there. So I'm praying to God that's what you do because, like, I've been talking so much hype about every other position that you have. Interior offensive line is looking really suspect, like really suspect. So that's the offensive line. We're going to be building the defense from the line out. And it starts off with Javon Kinlaw. I think he's gonna have a breakout year, just be an absolute beast. I hope he does. I really did like Javon. Khalil Davis here. Maurice Hurst. Obviously, I think he might be out for the year. That again, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I like the fact they have Mo Hurst still on the roster. I hope that he can come back healthy. But Javon Kinlaw is going to be the guy you run through. I don't like the depth here, to be honest, apart from Maurice Hurst, but he's out, so it doesn't really matter. You got obviously two of the best DNs, so to speak, in the entire league. Armstead for the value is great. Again, $17 million on a modern contract is really good. Bosa is going to be a bitch to re-sign, but who cares? I mean, the guy's a G. Drake Jackson, again, great pickup. Charles Omena, who's good depth. I stay with Kamoko Toure. So it's weird. What I've been noticing is you guys don't value the interior, but your exterior is looking pretty damn solid. So that's for both lines. I guess, I mean, you know what? I'm going to trust you guys. Jordan Willis as well, not too shabby to have on your roster. Let's go to the linebackers. You got Oren Burks, Curtis Robinson. I don't really think those guys are all that, so to speak, but Dre Greenlaw's a beast. Fred Warner's a beast. Even Aziz Al-Shahir, or God, Shahir, is not too shabby at all. Again, you have two superpowers here, in my opinion, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. And then you have Samson Ebukam as well. So you do have some really good players in that linebacking core. And that's a good sign. That's a really good sign because when you have a pretty weak, so to speak, interior, it's nice to know that that second level can come up and support because it's usually the opposite. Not many teams have a very poor or very weak in terms of depth interior, and they usually have poor linebacker groups. So I guess you guys are just flipping the script. Let's go to the safeties. Talanoa Hufanga, I was a big fan of him. And I think he was like a late round pickup. He's been balling out. Good for him. Happy to see him do that. I don't think any of these other guys are going to be making the plays. But you got Jimmy Ward here who's injured. But you got Tavarius Moore, Deshaun Gibson. Deshaun Gibson still in the league? Man, he used to be a beast too. So I'm starting to be a little bit worried about that safety room right there. I don't think Talanoa is a true starting strong safety. I think he's a good rotational. But I like Jimmy Ward. I don't know when he's going to be back. So you guys can, again, drop that down in the comment section. Again, you guys follow one team. I follow 32. It's a lot easier for me to have these things slip through the cracks. Javarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley, I've heard they both dealt with some injury issues. Hopefully they're going to be okay. I don't think they're both out for the year, but both are really good players. Again, I like that Javarius Ward pickup. I thought it was extremely expensive for a guy who is not that great, but again, honestly, you poached him from the Chiefs, and that's great. Ambry Thomas, love him. Again, regardless of his play on the field, this guy had some type of really debilitating sickness that got him down to 170 pounds, and he somehow still won the starting job. That's one hell of a motor right there. Big fan of Ambry Thomas. Samuel Womack, I've heard, been making some big ass plays, so that's awesome. Tariq Castro-Fields, beast. I like him. Deondre Lenoir, doing pretty good as well. Jason Verrett still. We'll see if he actually survives. I don't even know if he might be hurt again, but Ken Crawley's not bad either. For once, corner depth is not that big of an issue. I'll still say that you don't have an actual primary corner one, but if Samuel Womack works out, you have a really good player there, and you have enough depth to at least minimize it. So let's go into the games here. I will say, basically, quarterback, I think you'll be okay. Running back, it's Shanahan. Wide receiver, apart from injuries, I think you guys are perfectly fine. Tight ends are great. Tackles are great. Guards and center are sus. Those are kind of the things that are really suspect to me. Edge is looking phenomenal. Then you look at the defensive interior is also suspect. So interior, the lines are a little bit worrisome. Linebacker looks great. Safeties look a little bit really suspect, to be honest. And then corners, if they can stay healthy, looking good. So you start off easy. You start off with the two worst teams in the NFL, the Bears and the Seahawks. So I think you guys are starting off great there. Then you go to the Mile High, and I'm going to give it to a team that's very powerful, very high potential over in the Mile High City. You'll see basically based on a lot of my records, and yeah, you'll be like, what the hell? How are the Eagles 14-3? I believe in Jalen Hurts, and honestly, the rest of that roster is good enough, and they don't have that difficult of a schedule. But I like to go with the home team a lot of times, especially if I'm not sure. And again, it's because you practice there, you work out there. That's just your environment, especially if it's someplace like Denver or Miami where the climate is just totally different. You got the Rams coming to the Niners, and we're doing the Rams probably next. And I'm excited to do that because, I mean, the Rams have a lot of potential. They just have a lot of concerns, a lot of injury concerns. I think Trey Lance is still going to have some growing pains, and you do have Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald on this squad, and you have a pretty weak interior. I'm not a fan of that. I think Aaron Donald will just absolutely eat up your interior. You're going to have to double team him, and that means that somebody's going to be coming off the edge. I know they're not as powerful as they are last year. I think they're a little bit overrated, but I do think you can take advantage. For week 5, so you're in Carolina here. This might be an upset game. This might be for me. Carolina, you have Baker as your quarterback. Again, we're forgetting Baker's a number 1 pick. And when he's healthy, he's actually really solid. They have a good wide receiver room. I will say their line is really suspect. So I'm still going to give it to you guys because of that pass rush. And I think the same thing could potentially work out here. But I will say this is a potential upset game. I thoroughly believe that. But again, we'll see when we do the Panthers if we flip that game. It depends on how confident I am. And it also depends on how healthy Christian McCaffrey is. But your linebackers are probably the best to be able to defend against him. Week number 6, I'm going to be taking you guys again away. This is weird because I like to go home. The Falcons they're getting there. They're not there yet, but they're getting there. Chiefs coming to San Francisco. Oh, for a guy who doesn't like Trey Lance that much, I'm giving you guys a lot of credit here. I don't know how good the offensive line is going to be for the Chiefs. When we do that video, we might be able to flip this. But you are in Santa Clara. They got Leo Chanel and George Karlaftis. 2 of their biggest issues are pass rush as well as linebacker help, and they've addressed that pretty heavily. I'm actually gonna. I think the Chiefs are gonna be really good. Not that good, but really good. And you do still have Chris Jones. Man, I can't believe I'm going 3 away teams. I just talked about how I'm like totally going towards like home field advantage. I think the Rams do sweep just because of that rest. And again, I think Trey Lance is just a little bit raw at this point. Here, I think he might be coming into his stride, but I think Andy Reid can get it done. Bye week, the Niners are facing the Chargers. So I think one of the Chargers' greatest assets right now is their pass rush with Khalil Mack there and Joey Bosa. But I'm looking at that interior, and I think it's a crap interior versus a crap interior, and that might switch again. But you are really good in the run game. I'm actually going to give it to you guys, upset over the team. I don't think I've given them a loss. Oh, I have. So I think that the Chargers could be a Super Bowl team, legitimately. Then you go to Arizona in division game versus Kyler. They just re-signed DJ Humphries to, I believe, a 3-year deal. They don't have that good of a running game. Obviously, they lost their number 1 running back to the Dolphins. So that's that. But they do have a really strong core. I would say their interior is not very good either. And they lost Jordan Hicks. But they are at home. We'll come back to the game. I'm going to choose the Cardinals for now. I don't think the Saints are that good. I don't. They have a very good defense, and their offense is very piecey. But I don't believe in Trevor Penning. I don't, especially against guys like Nick Bosa, Samson Ebukam, as well as I'm tripping up. Who's the edge? I'm tripping up right now. Eric Armstead. There we go, and Drake Jackson even. So yeah, I think that's going to be that for me. The Buccaneers come into town. Ooh. Okay, so this game, I thoroughly believe the Dolphins could win it, but I'm going to give it to the home field advantage. Brady's on his last tour. I don't think they're as good, but I do think they'll somehow remain healthy, and that's going to be an upside game. No way in hell I'm giving the Seahawks a win. I think I'm going to give them like an 0-17 record. And then I think the Raiders are going to be really good, and they're a little more polished. By this time, Trey is going to be a little bit more in his stride, but the Raiders are looking really good this year. And then ending it off, we're going to be giving back the love that we got taken away from us in week 11. I think it's fair to say a split right there. So what does that bring us to? 10-7. That's really solid for having – it's a pretty tough schedule. Again, you have 1, 2, technically 3. You could – 4. Fought like you have a lot of games against Super Bowl potential teams. Yeah, I think the Dolphins could be a very sneaky team if Tua hits his stride. So, um, yeah, you have like 5 or 6 teams that are Super Bowl caliber on your schedule, and you're making out 10-7. That's pretty good to me. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.